Hello and welcome back to yet another video here. My name is Lewis and I thank you for taking the time, if you're taking the time to watch this obviously. This is a continuation of just a day-by-day journey as we get into the new year. Today's topic is going to be perfect, especially with the timing of it all. See what I'm challenged to do is here over the next little while. We're just going to go through and see how this works out. My goal, my attempt is to provide daily challenges, 1 or 2 verse challenges, maybe a thought that comes out of it, an application, but just something to try to encourage and be a help to you. Eventually down the line, I may look at more expanded pieces, maybe rather than just going, for example, we're doing Proverbs 27 today. The goal may not be to just do 1 or 2 verses out of a section, but maybe pick out a small book, 1, 2, 3 chapter book, and just go through it piece by piece. And again, still keeping it to about 10-minute segments here. My goal isn't to replace any kind of sermons or things along that line, but hopefully to provide daily encouragement and application principles. And maybe, if we pick out a book and we go through the book, it could be an encouragement. I almost said inspiration. As I said, today we're going to go Proverbs 27. The reason I mention everything about the timing, because the verse we're going to go over is verse 1. And if we have time, a couple thoughts real quick on verse 2. But verse 1, because the verse itself, let me get it pulled up here for you, or for me at least. The verse says, "Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth." Now, the reason I said it's ironic that we're going to be going over that today is because, just to be transparent, this was yesterday's video, and I already had recorded yesterday's video, but I didn't plan ahead. And when I went to upload the video and get it set up to release in the morning time, I recorded it on an old camera that I had that I wanted to make use of, and tried to move. I tried to change my location as to where I was at, just to provide some variety. And what ended up happening was I recorded it, I got it transferred, but it wasn't a file that I can actually upload. And so it was, as silly as it may sound, I got super confident, made the video, didn't do any kind of diligent research into that particular video file. And the next thing you know, I was now set back and set behind. And so now I ended up recording 2 in one day. We'll be recording 2 in one day, as I'll have one a little bit later. But the idea was, I thought I had extra, thought it was fine, didn't really plan ahead, didn't prepare, just presumed it'd all be okay. Then had a busy day where I had work involved and had church, and the next thing you know, I didn't have the time to actually do the video and prepare and upload it and all. And so here we are today doing this, doing 2 videos in one. Now, the challenge, it says to boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Now, what this verse is not telling you is not to plan or prepare for the next day or for a couple days later. The thing I like to think about is family trips, or if you're going to be planning a vacation. It's not telling you can't do that. It's not telling you to live in the moment and live right now because you can't plan a vacation in a month or 2 months or 3 months. I can't sit there and prepare for the time where my kids will be out of school and maybe plan on taking them for a trip somewhere. I mean, I do a lot of things with friends where it's like not the spur of the moment. Now, there are times where we do spur of the moment things, but there are others where it's, hey, in a couple weeks, we're going to be here. Do you want to be a part of it? And we take part of those things. I will give you one in sports. That's why I'm wearing this hat. When I was a kid and I was living in New York City still, was back in 1986 when these very here Mets actually went and won a World Series. Now, that team was a really good team. A couple years later, they made the playoffs. They didn't make it to the World Series, but they made the playoffs, and it just seemed like this was going to be an every year thing. And they still haven't won a World Series since that 86 team. Now, it's easy to be presumptuous. It's easy to assume, hey, This is a really good situation. This is probably going to happen again and again. We hear about that a lot in sports. There are certain teams that they're called dynasties. They're successful all the time, and people get to presume, oh yeah, they've been good. They'll be good again. They'll be good again. And it doesn't always happen that way. It doesn't always work that way. Well, in life, we can get very presumptuous. We can assume, oh, there's plenty of time. I'll have time for that later. I've had the opportunity and privilege the last couple summers to go with our teens to camp. And one of the things that's easy to presume is that I've got plenty of time to devote to God. Right now, this time is mine. This is the time that I get to live. This is the time I get to do what I want to do. And I'll, so to speak, be a Christian later on. I will do the things I'm supposed to do later on. And the Bible cautions against that. See, yeah, it doesn't tell you can't prepare, but it tells you not to be ignorant about it either. You don't know what's going to happen. When I was a freshman in high school, I lost a classmate through an accident. It was a car accident of sorts, and I had talked with that young man the day he died. We were in class together, and I remember we were joking about something. And at the end of class, the bell rang, and we were chuckling because we were laughing during class. I wasn't the perfect student, but we were laughing during class. And I remember vividly saying, man, it was an every other day class. So I remember vividly saying, hey, we'll just have to keep this up next class. He's like, yeah, we're going to have to. And we were football teammates that previous fall and winter, and we never had another class. It might have been my sophomore year, but the point being, that was it. That was the only opportunity. That was the last opportunity. And I think about that often. Last March, February, March, I got the opportunity to travel up to DC for a work related event. And while I was up there, I got to see the family of an old college friend that I hadn't seen them in close to 20 years. And their daughter, unfortunately, had passed away close to 12 years prior. And I had lost touch with her. And I remember thinking, you know what? I just never know when the time's going to come where God calls somebody home, where somebody passes away, where I won't get the opportunity to say, whatever it is that needs to be said, whether it's even just hey, whether it's hi, whether it's being an encouragement to them. Boast not of tomorrow. You do live only one life. And what you do in that life has value, has importance. And God's left you here for a reason and for a purpose. And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the next day is going to bring. And I challenge you to live with that in mind. Especially as we've been talking about relationships. We're coming off of Christmas. We've talked about love at Christmas time. Don't allow grudges. Don't allow bitterness and anger and hostility ruin the time that you have left on this earth. Don't let it ruin the opportunity you have to spend with your family. Don't let it ruin the opportunity you have to serve Christ, because you don't know how much time you got left. I've got just about a minute left, so I do want to take and mention one thing about verse 2. Verse 2 talks about the idea, let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. As we talked the previous video about how do we answer a fool and being foolish, I challenge you, have a proper attitude about yourself. It says, let another man praise thee. Sometimes it's not about the idea of, whether or not you're good at something or how good you are at something, but it's also the opportunity to understand the reason we do things. Let God work that out. If your responsibility is to serve others, go ahead and serve others. If you don't get the recognition, it's okay, because God realizes it. Let another man praise you. It says, let a stranger and not thine own lips. Don't seek that arrogance. Don't let that arrogance drive you, because what it's going to do is lead to that bitterness and that anger. And then what's going to happen is what got mentioned in verse 1. You'll kind of not take advantage. Um, you'll kind of take advantage of the idea that you've got a tomorrow or more, and you may not have it. Anyway, it's a challenge for today. I hope that you all have had a blessed holiday so far. And as we get closer to the new year, I challenge you to do your best uh, to show that love we talked about earlier. Don't be a fool, and don't brag about tomorrow. Don't be arrogant. We just don't know what we've got left. Well, thank you for taking the time to join. Until the next time, have a great day.